enough. Stop making people worse than when they went into the prison, then dropping them into the community.
Fix it.
Fix it.
Fix it.
And the community has to get involved in prisons. National Institution of Corrections, good concept, source of money. Community has to insist that the National Institution of Corrections follows the money. Don't just throw money into the laps of people that, I mean, come on. Most Department of Corrections, I'd say 10% of them across the nation are corrupt. They're corrupt to the core. They're not about rehabilitation. They're about job security. And you have to keep that forefront in your mind. When the National Institution of Corrections gives out these mega millions of dollars, they got to follow the money. Don't just give, when you give money to a corrupt individual and you think that anything but corruption is going to occur with this money, you're insane. Or you think we are.
No, when you go back, one of the things we're talking about, the politics of these things, when we were dealing in the 70s, things were happening, real good things. New people were brought in, but that was part of the problem, was what you're just talking about. Change was coming.
Well,
people were going to be
book.
right.
So this is the thing in the book.
This is the right.
When you read this book,
change was coming.
Remember, this book is talking about 1971, 1972, 1973.
Right.
The stuff we were talking about and doing in this book is what you hear today.
Today.
We were talking about it over 30 years ago.
Exactly. And it's exactly, if you read and you go in and Google them, that's what we talked about there. But when the people were brought in, when the change, like John Boone was a change agent. Absolutely. And guess what? They got rid of people. We got rid of commissioners, we got rid of guards, and they went absolutely nuts because it was cleanup time. I guess, you know what? That's really what we're talking about. We're talking about it's time to clean up. Like in Connecticut, the governor's got to stand up and say, these people, enough is enough. Connecticut's bleeding. You're putting the wrong people out there. You don't know what you're doing. You're not listening, and that's what's going on. Right now in Connecticut, that's one of the things that's going on. It is a mess. You need change agents. You need people who know what they're doing and can change. They knew what they were doing.
The governor has the intestinal fortitude to step up, go into the Department of Corrections and say, hey, your job is to rehabilitate people. The money you get from henceforth is going to be related to your performance.
Yes. And your staffs, all is.
Your performance.
That's it.
Guards want all these extra pay raises, and you have recidivism rate of 68% in your maximum security prison. Why are we paying this kind of money for failure?
Right now as we're talking here, right, the guards union's looking for money. The union's going right.
Of course,
they're
and
right,
it will
right
never
now,
stop
they're right
doing
now,
that.
Right now, there's today they're up there. They're looking for
and
more money.
And they say that we have the most dangerous job in law enforcement, which is crap. The most dangerous job in law enforcement is a police officer chasing an armed person, running down the street, firing a gun. You don't have that in a prison corridor.
No, you don't.
But you have that on the street.
You certainly
and
do.
when a correctional officer says that the correctional officers have the most dangerous job in law enforcement, that is an insult to all law enforcement officers across the state. The most dangerous job in the state is a police officer.
On the street.
Because he has a criminal on the street that's armed and possibly a killer, just killed somebody.
Right.
With a weapon.
And he's got to confront
What is more dangerous than that?
Nothing more than that.
Some prisoner that's mad for some reason in the prison. That's absurd. And they want more money, claiming that their job is the most dangerous. They should get all the money that they need and deserve relative to job performance. If you work in an institution that has a recidivism rate that's over 50%, then you're not entitled to pay raises. And if after a certain period of time, if you pass a law stating requiring the Department of Corrections to rehabilitate prisoners, the Department of Corrections, the Commissioner of Corrections should have a policy written in stone and supported by legislation that if the recidivism rate doesn't go down by X amount of points within a specific period of time, then guards get 5, 10, 15% pay cuts.
Pay cuts, yeah. See, I like that.
And then you watch
right.
how fast
Yeah, right.
corrections will turn around and rehabilitate
See,
people.
I want to do that for the school system here in New London. People went crazy. What? Yeah. Why should the teacher get paid for having so many dropouts? Why should it? It's the same concept. You get paid for your performance.
Absolutely.
If you're an expert, do the job. I want to see the job. Show me what you can do. And why not? And you can do it. I don't go any place. I don't go, and my community knows that. I don't go any place without an entourage of challenged individuals. When we talk about we know how to get people out of the street, I know how to save your city money. I'm doing it. I've been doing it for 5 years. I got 18 people I can walk in anytime. 18 people. Each one of them represents $100,000 saved to the city in less than 4 years that are out paying taxes. Show me. Here they are. I'm not fooling around. Go ask them. Well, you know our lovely Big Bob, okay, who loves you after your live show, out in the street for 5 years, 14 years, was disabled in '83, couldn't get housing. Now he pays taxes. Paid $700 last year. He paid all his child support that he owed from back. Right.
But you got to be careful. You got to be careful with shelters because shelters can go the same way.
Oh, I don't.
In Massachusetts,
no, we're talking permanent housing.
Pine Street Inn.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You give a man $150,000 a year as a director. This individual has a vested interest in perpetuating homelessness.
Right. Exactly.
We don't want shelters. We want homes.
Housing.
When you create shelters, you're only perpetuating the problem. We need housing. We need to get people not off the street. We need to get people into housing and jobs. When you create shelters for the sake of shelters, then somebody gets, well, I need $150,000 a year to manage the shelter.
Shelters are for emergencies. Emergencies, cold weather, the fire happened. We had an emergency shelter. Now we call it the Hospitality Center, which has now grown to the bunkhouse for the city of New London's druggies, criminals, feed them, bunk. Yes, I helped start that, absolutely. One of the founders. I helped found an emergency shelter that was to be a step towards permanent housing. And it got corrupted in a very short time. As soon as you put big money in there, you get a vested interest in people wanting to staff that, wanting to be there, and you're creating another agency.
Job security.
Job security. Forget it. Put yourself out of business. Get them in housing.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about. That's what the ministry is about. You need to get people off the street. You need to take people who did the wrong thing, turn them around to do the right thing, and they got to make a living. It's
Absolutely.
like we all say the same thing. You said it right. I'm not going to stop. My kid needs help. I need to raise a family.
People aren't going to do that.
I'm going to do what I know best.
People aren't going to do that.
And that's why we need new view. We need people to come in and clean it up. And it's not like we don't know how to do it.
Yes,
that's
what's sad.
That is the sad
that
part.
We know, but the problem is the politicians and the community.
And the community. Our community don't vote.
Is responsible. You're responsible for what's happening in your community.
Poor people don't vote.
And if you jump into the bag of the politicians, lock them up and throw the key away, now you're a bigger part of the problem. Because locking them up, throwing the key away, causes more loss of money, debilitates human beings, incapacitates them to non-functional citizens. That is not being smart on crime. That's being stupid on crime. The community has got to care about its community. And the individual that's in prison is your community.
Exactly.
97% are coming back. That's your community. How do you want them back in the community?
It's interesting that all these things go down. And the other key issue that I really, really like when you talk about it, when we talk about certification, there's a hospital organization out of Chicago, certifies all the hospital. They go in, much like, what's the Correctional Association. Do they go to, They don't. They're another organization. They don't go to the people who had real problems with the hospital to find out. They just do blanket stuff
With the
and with the administrators. And it's the same thing. I mean, how do you know? They're doing all this investigation about the prisons, and I didn't see any prisoners, real ex-convicts on those shows that knew about change, saying to the governor of Connecticut, "Look, are the representatives, you need to